Hey everybody, welcome back to FeedbackLoop. I'm Joey.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we're back, episode 18 of season 2, because that's how we're counting this now. And
yes, we are.
that's how I'm counting it on my notes. And we have this little wager going on, this thing we've been trying out for the past couple of episodes where we like pick a genre and then we each listen to said genre and try to pick a band and see who's going to be the cool guy who picked the best band. And last week it was Cornwall Indie, and we just had a discussion right before we started recording on whether we were going to do this at the end or the beginning. And Jeremy said he didn't care, so we're going to do it at the beginning.
Hey, that works, man. It's been
1 week.
It's been a fortnight, my guy. It's been 2 weeks. Here he goes, 2 weeks. Gosh, I feel like maybe this has just been the vibe that I feel like I just haven't done shit for the past couple weeks, and I feel like I said that last episode, and it's just going to be a thing. That's maybe my slump is overstaying its welcome longer than I would like for it. But that is to say, I didn't necessarily phone this in. As far as the Cornwall indie goes, I didn't. I merely did not explore as much as perhaps expected. And that is twofold, I think. One fold of the two folds is that I found a band that I'm really satisfied with. I really enjoy this band, genuinely. And it was like one of the first ones that I looked into. So I was like, I don't need to go further. This is it. This is as good as it gets for me. But also because, as mentioned, I've been in this kind of weird headspace, and I didn't listen to a lot of things that I planned on listening to. And then I listened to some things that I didn't plan on listening to. I don't know. It's just been weird. I'm going to read the description of the band.
Oh my god.
As according to their Bandcamp. The band is called Hypophora, right? So Hypophora, I don't know if you've listened. Did you listen to them?
I did.
Okay. Well, so there we go. That's my pick. That was something else that I was wondering if we were going to end up with a lot of overlap, because there are a lot of bands from Cornwall, and India is such a vague umbrella. Anyways, their Bandcamp page says Hypophora are a fierce female-fronted alt-rock / post-hardcore outfit with a chaotic live show and an infatuation for blending genres, with a sound somewhat resembling grunge / early 2000s post-hardcore intertwined with snippets of funk and math rock. And I was like, okay, that's a weird description for something. And indie was nowhere to be seen in there, because, again, the indie blanket is kind of vague. And
it can just mean independent artist, like literally any genre. So
exactly. So that's where I maybe phoned it in. Is that I went with a pretty early thing that I heard, and I don't know, because there are more specific genre related words. I don't know if you necessarily would consider it indie music, but I fucking love it. The album I listened to from them is called Douse. It's from 2018. Their Bandcamp has a few other singles that weren't on albums, or at least not that I could find from them. I think Douse was the only album that I could find from them. And I actually really enjoyed it. It gave me a lot of vibes from artists that I already enjoy, which obviously means that I enjoyed it. So that's my pick, is Douse by Hypophora.
Well, hell yeah. So I didn't listen to... I knew that Douse was their album because I had looked into a lot of the bands. I saw a music video by Hypophora.
Oh, did you? I haven't. I haven't seen any of their music videos.
I don't remember which song it was, but there's like an interpretive dancer in the middle of, like, the band is in a ring, like, playing the song, and then there's this interpretive dancer in the middle, like, dancing while they're playing the song. That's, and I was just, it really stuck with me, which, from what I heard, I liked their sound. But I can't knock you for doing what you did, because I did the same thing. Because, so, one thing that I found is this guy, Milo Gore, apparently has a lot to do with whatever the current Cornwall indie scene is. I found him popping up fucking everywhere. And
interesting.
I'll go ahead and start with the album that I picked It's an EP called Dead Dogs and Sad Songs by Tapes, Milo Gore, and Fair, 3 artists that kind of came together to make this EP, which
Interesting. So I Fair was actually the first artist that I checked out this past, because I found a list. I think it was probably a pretty easy list to find. It was
yeah,
like the top 51 like upcoming
yeah,
indie Cornwall bands, and I think Fair was like the top one of there. So I started there, and then I just started scrolling down and saying, okay, what looks interesting? And that's how I found Hypophora. But yeah,
that's
so I did listen.
what I did.
I did listen to Fair. I couldn't really pin it down whether or not I enjoyed it or not. Some of it was very good and like very like on point for me, I think, but a lot of it kind of just started sounding kind of bland to me.
That was a thing that I ran into, is like, which I feel like happens a lot with whatever the indie blanket that they try to say is, whenever you get away from just independent artists and you get into like what the indie sound is considered. I feel like
Right.
you start to get a lot of samey type of stuff where it's really just like spacey and ethereal kind of general pop rock, and it's like, yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that. I know
Yeah,
that sound.
there's a million. It kind of like, it reminded me of an artist named Eva Ross, which I mentioned to you. I think we listened to like one of her songs
Hmm.
after the Beach Bunny concert that we went to.
Yeah.
And so it kind of reminded me of that, but it didn't capture the same vibe for me. So actually, I ended up switching that and listening to Eva Ross instead. Eva, I don't know. It's EVA, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I felt like that was a similar thing, but less interesting to me. So I totally derailed. Dead Dogs and Sad Songs
Yeah.
is a great EP title.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think for this. But please go on and explain.
Oh, just I kind of thought the same thing about, because I'd listened to like Tapes on their own and Fair on their own, and Milo Gore had other projects that I'd listened to on their own, and I felt like with them 3 working together, I guess that's the combination that I liked about the EP. Um, but yeah, I just liked it. It was pretty chill. It didn't sound like that typical spacey indie sound that I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of American and British indie bands get. Um, but I did have some runners up
Oh,
to this as well. Just,
see,
you
I
know,
really phoned it in. I did not
yeah,
even. I was like, I found my one. I'm like, this is good enough.
there there was one band that I wish I could have picked called Blue, like BLEU, that they are nowhere to be found online,
Oh,
except
really?
I found, apparently back in 1999 there was a show hosted by a guy named John Peel on, I think, Channel 4 of British television,
Right.
and it was called Sounds of the Suburbs, and he did an episode specifically on Cornwall, and there was this band called Blue, and I liked their kind of rough, like grungy sound, and I listened to what was on the show but could not find them literally anywhere online. Like
Interesting.
they had a local presence in 1999 and then nothing.
Yeah.
Which like if you're a local band in the 90s, like you probably,
Right. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, it's not like Spotify was a thing. You
yeah,
couldn't
and
just
it's,
upload your music and get it out there. So they probably just never did.
and by the time like YouTube came around, like in 2005 or whatever, that's 6 years after that show aired. Like if they didn't hit it after the
Right.
show, maybe they just were like, whatever, we're gonna call it quits.
Yeah.
Um,
Or maybe they went on and did other things, or maybe.
yeah, they could all be in different bands now.
Right.
Which I don't know. I don't know any of their names. I just liked their specific sound. Second runner up is Aphex Twin, because
Yeah.
he's from Cornwall, and it's weird because on that Sounds of the Suburbs show that I found, just it was like maybe a month and a half ago, I watched a full documentary on Aphex Twin, and I saw that same interview in it, which was
Interesting.
really weird to kind of come back and just find that by accident, like the original source. But yeah, he's from Cornwall. He's
I
obviously
saw that.
a very big artist, but I mean, he started in a complete indie scene, like whatever fuck, I don't even know what to consider what his music would be called. IDM is what they called it, but apparently he hated that term
Yeah.
back in the day. Then final runner up, it's just one song, which is why I didn't do anything more with it. Um, the band was called The Fisherman's Friends, and they have a song called Cornwall, My Home, and it was fucking beautiful.
It's
I
a good
don't
song for our competition.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't consider it indie. I don't think they're an indie band. It's very folksy, but just like the way that they portrayed their love for where they have lived their entire lives, it was beautiful, and I wish I had that sense of home just
Dude,
at
I
all.
feel that. I
Like,
feel that so much. Like when I was living back in the Eastern time zone, um, I have friends that live in Louisville, and they're like, I mean, even not Louisville people. People are passionate about their sports teams from where they are. You know, like they're big on like pride
yeah,
of their hometown or home area. I guess there's no like there's no pride to be found in the specific like small town that I was from
no
or
way.
where you're in. But it's so weird. Then I'm like I'm moving out here out west, and I'm like there's no reason for me to like share anything interesting about my hometown because there is nothing interesting about my hometown, right?
Yeah,
And there's no pride to be had of the area, but I do know people are super big into like, hey, if I'm from around here, this came up. Um, I've been watching hockey, ice hockey, NHL level hockey, and I've been rooting for the Seattle Kraken. They're a horrible, horrible hockey
yeah,
team, but
Krakens.
I've been rooting for them. And so two of my friends from Louisville have also gotten into hockey with me, and they've been rooting for the Kraken as well. Um, and the question was posed: if Louisville got an NHL team, would they continue rooting for Kraken, or would they root for the Louisville team? And they both agreed that they would switch. They would abandon the Kraken and root for the Louisville team because that's just kind of the way that I guess sports minded people work. Right?
Yeah,
Is it's a town pride, like, and being able to see home games is obviously a big part of that too. I would imagine is that it's just a convenient thing for them to be a fan of
yeah.
Louisville sports because they're in Louisville.
Louisville used to have a minor league hockey team. I
The
used to
River
go.
Frogs.
Yeah, the River Frogs back in the day used to go to those River Frogs games. But yeah, we've never, we're not on the map like that to have a big league hockey team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe someday. I mean,
Yeah,
Seattle just now got one, so they're an expansion team last year. But this is not the hockey
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
This was a weird tangent. I know it kind of
What
went on
else have you
because
been
of
listening
town pride.
to Jeremy?
Man, it's been I don't know. It's weird. So Tovlo had a new album drop. Poppy had an EP drop. Both musicians I'm a very big fan of. We've discussed some of their works on this very podcast. And I think they came out. We recorded the previous episode on a Wednesday, I
Mm-hmm.
think, Wednesday or Thursday, and then the next Friday, so a day or two later, um, both of the Poppy's Stagger EP and Tovlo's Dirt Fem album dropped, and I didn't listen to them for like a week and a half. It wasn't my. I've been in a weird mind space for music,
Yeah,
um, so I kind of delayed listening to their albums just because I wasn't really feeling it. But then I went back and listened to them. Poppy's Stagger EP is so good. It's 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 4 tracks, and it I guess me saying it's so good is giving it maybe higher praise than I really feel. But it's kind of like a slow burn EP, and that like the first track is okay, the second track is okay, and then the third and fourth tracks just like they pick it up, and the fourth track is the title track, Stagger, and it's such a good song. I think it really ties that whole EP together, and it kind of ties in. I was thinking about this when you mentioned watching a music video for Hypophora, is because the music video for Stagger kind of stands out to me, and it's this kind of interpretive dance duet thing over the track, which was very interesting and it's fun to watch. Tovlo's Dirt Fem, I'm still not sold on. I did listen to it, but it's not outside of a few like singles and like big songs. It doesn't really ring any bells for me. It doesn't do anything fancy for me, and it's kind of she's going for this um 90s aesthetic, like 90s pop star kind of aesthetic with it, and the music is kind of reflective of that. Um, but I don't know, it wasn't cutting it for me. What have you been listening to?
Well, um, I guess I'll start with something that also kind of fell flat from me, from somebody that I like.
Sure.
So, Tallest Man on Earth put out a new album called Too Late for Edelweiss. And while I did like it, I did not connect with it
Yeah.
at all, like how I connect with his older stuff, where it's just like instant. Like the first time I heard, I'd say, I think the first time I heard Tallest Man on Earth was in maybe like 2012, 2013. So I think everything up to Wild Hunt had come out, and I heard all of it and I loved
Mhm.
all of it instantly. And then he kind of changed his sound with Dark Bird is Home, and which I get. He went through like a divorce that he seems to not have wanted at all. Like it wasn't his
Right.
choice, and was reeling from that. And Dark Bird is Home. It was darker. It was cleaner. Wasn't as raw, and he kind of like changed his sound a little bit. And over time, I began to really like it. Like I liked the finger style. I liked what he had going on, where it wasn't necessarily as folksy. It was more clean, and
Mhm.
I liked it. Then he came out with "I Love You, It's a Fever Dream," and the same thing, where it was even cleaner than "Dark Bird is Home," and it still ended up growing on me. There's several songs that I really really enjoy off of it, but overall, I don't like his new sound as much as I liked his older sound. And then "Too Late for Edelweiss" just came out, and it essentially kept going in the same direction. Where now it's at the point where it's like I
It's too
like
far for you, perhaps.
it might be too far. Which he said in interviews, which I watched all of his live streams and stuff over like lockdown and everything, where he was constantly doing live streams. For a while, he was putting out like covers and stuff, and just like all this super cool fan reaching out stuff. And he's talked about his change in sound, where he's like, I'm just not that person anymore. He was like, I can play
Right.
the songs live, but it feels like I'm playing covers whenever I play the songs live, because it's not me anymore. And like I
Right. He's so
totally,
far removed from it.
yeah, and like I get that. So it might just be one of those things, unfortunately, where I connect a lot more with his older stuff, and that's just not, we've parted ways in
Yeah.
that way. Which, more power to you, man. Keep doing your thing, even if like, I don't know if that's what you
For
want to do.
sure. For
Fucking
every fan lost from changing his sound, theoretically there is a fan gained that is more into his kind of new outlook or new style.
yeah, and
So
the old music's still there, so
yeah, exactly.
whatever.
It's not like you can't listen to it anymore. Um, Something else that I revisited this past fortnight is the new Death Heaven album, Infinite Granite.
Oh hell yeah,
I've been in kind of that kind of like vibey, and this is where Poppy Stagger EP kind of ends up, and this kind of vibey, spacey rock kind of, not really shoegaze, but just kind of like lots of ambience and lots of like chill vibes and reverb and such like that. So I gave the new Death Heaven album another listen, and it's good. I
yeah.
It didn't click at first because it's such a departure, but I think being this far removed from like Sunbather time wise, like from the last time I listened to Sunbather, and like understanding coming back in with new expectations of it, of being like, okay, now I know what I'm getting into. Listening to it, it's a really enjoyable album. I had
Yeah,
a lot of fun with it. Just kind of revisiting that and putting it on as I'm driving and stuff like that.
hell yeah, Death Heaven. It's that time of year to just
Yeah.
to have that kind of sounds going on. Which I tried to listen to the new Panopticon album again, and I like the sound. I will never not like the sound of
Right.
Panopticon, but some of the messaging on there, like listening to some of the lyrics and stuff, it's like is teetering on the edge of like political stuff that like
Oh
it kind
yeah.
of puts me off of it, where it's like it's very libertarian, but it starts off on like a recorded rant on like immigration and stuff, where it's
Oh.
like, and it's like I'm gonna say this, and anybody who hears me is gonna probably be like, "You're a fucking idiot," but like, it sounds almost ambiguous enough that like I don't necessarily know it. I
Which
don't
way they
think,
lean.
yeah, but I think he's leaning against it, heavily against it. But I don't know for a fact. But it's just like hearing stuff like that in there, it kind of puts me off from like the rest of the music, because I'm like, I could literally listen to 50 other bands that have like this type of sound. Now, don't get me wrong, like a lot of his other stuff is super cool because it has the banjo and the bluegrass elements, but all that music is there and it doesn't have weird stuff that makes me
Right.
feel weird when I listen to it, because I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily agree
Agree.
with all this.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sign up for all this. I just wanted to hear some banjos. And,
Yeah, I
but
mean it's one thing to like separate the art from artist, but when the lyrics of the art are kind of delivering a message,
yeah,
you can't, it's very difficult to separate. I mean, even for me, right? I don't typically listen to lyrics first. Lyrics are usually like an afterthought for me. But like I definitely understand the kind of icky feeling that you can get from like enjoying something musically, even though lyrically, like it's not necessarily what you would consider a good idea.
yeah, it gave me the same vibes that I get whenever I listen to like Christian music. That same ick feeling on the
Yeah.
inside, which it's nuts because like Kentucky, his Panopticon's album about like the coal miners and like unionizing and getting
Right.
like workers' rights. I'm all for that, like 100% all day. But whenever you start talking, like, I don't know, it was weird because it was like a Bush era recording too of like
Mhm.
a political pundit of back then. I'm just like, this is weird, man. So I listened
Yeah.
to None. I went back to None, the band that we, and I was just like,
Oh, this is totally a random thought. Um, sorry, going back to Poppy, but
yeah,
also tying in what you were just talking about. I watched her. She did a "What's in My Bag" for Amoeba, and she
oh
had Sun
shit,
O. Sun O is in her bag,
what,
which makes
really?
perfect sense. I
Yeah,
think. Like, I mean, she had a good variety of like weird shit in her bag, and it's hard to know how much of it was genuine versus how much of it was like, oh, I'm Poppy, I'm putting on this character, and this is
yeah,
like this would make people think I'm interesting if I pull out a black metal album or
yeah.
something. But I just that popped into my mind when you were talking about None, that she had like a Sun O album. I
Well,
was just like, oh, that's good on her for I guess sharing it. But
yeah.
it's again, it's kind of hard to tell how much of it was genuine.
I feel like at least there's, with how her music has morphed,
Yeah,
like,
for sure. I don't remember when she did the thing. I feel like if her "What's in My Bag" video was like early Poppy, then it would be more akin to be like just her trying to be
just the
weird,
character.
just the
Yeah.
character. But definitely like with Flux and I disagree to some extent, but like Flux and the new Stagger EP, I can tell that she is becoming more of her genuine self,
Yeah.
and she's kind of, I don't know if she's necessarily tired of, I don't think tired's the right word, of her character Poppy, but just she's trying to disconnect from it because of probably a lot of the drama and trauma associated with Corey Mixter doing
Yeah.
all the shitty things that he did. Um, but that's why I don't know. That's why Stagger works for me. It's a very like chilled out and just kind of like reflective thing, and like the interpretive dance video was spot on, just fun to watch. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail. There is something else though, that I've been listening to, and this is the big discovery for me. This I guess it's a discovery. I'm going to call it a discovery, even if it's not technically a discovery. In my funk state that I've been in, not the genre funk, but just like the mental funk, emotional funk that I've been in, I was thinking about the Hotline Miami soundtrack, and I think I
Oh yeah.
mentioned this in the Discord, but just like I laid down, I was like, I'm gonna put on the Hotline Miami soundtrack, and there are only two tracks that stand out to me from the Hotline Miami soundtrack. And they're not the upbeat like synthwave stuff that a lot of people like in the Hotline Miami soundtrack. It's the more weird, kind of like abstract and like skewed stuff. And I found out both of the tracks that I was thinking of were from the same artist. He goes by Sun Ara. So I actually went and I listened to his newest album, which is called Rock Sutra, which is great vibes. It's all like this very like strange, kind of like dissociating stuff. It reminded me a bit of like Gliss Riffer, the Dan
Oh
Deacon
hell
album.
yeah!
It was like the first album we talked about on the podcast. Um, so if you're wanting something more like kind of experimental and abstract and kind of weird, I definitely recommend checking out Sun Ra, because that's kind of what I've been diving into. And it's like it's good, weird, brain droopy like vibes for atmosphere and stuff.
So which album did you say you listened to out of his?
Rock Sutra
Rock Sutra
is the one that I listened to. It was his 2020 album. But also check out he has two tracks on the Hotline Miami soundtrack. I don't remember what they're called, but I love those tracks. I think one is Horse Steppin', and I think Deep Cover maybe might have been on it. I'm just kind of doing some quick searching. But yeah, those two songs always stand out for me. When I think of the Hotline Miami soundtrack, those are the songs that I kind of think of, whereas I think a lot of people, not to discredit the rest of the Hotline Miami soundtrack, because it's all good, but it's a lot more like Miami Vice kind of synthwave kind of stuff, which fits the game. But those two tracks, they're just so like weird that like it feels like dissociating a bit, and then like it's kind of a surrealist, like abstract experimental kind of thing for me that I really enjoyed.
Well, fuck yeah. Sounds like I know what I'm listening to, because I've actually been listening to Dan Deacon. I just wasn't going to bring it up because it's like, that's nothing. I have music that I just listen to all the time. It's like Pile, Dan Deacon, One O Tricks Point never gets put in there a lot. And it's like his Dan Deacon's, I think it was the 2020 album, Mystic Familiar, I think is what the album's called. I always say it wrong. Yeah. But man, that album is it's so good.
Maybe I'll check that out, because it definitely, like, Gliss River definitely crossed my mind. It's definitely different, but I think it's in a similar like experimental kind of area where there's kind of like making cool, weird, trippy sounds just to do it. And it's fun to just put that on and just zone out.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's what I'll do tomorrow. I have a lot of runescaping to do, provided no work comes in. So
welcome back to RuneScape Loop. I'm Jeremy. Oh, man. Anything else you've been listening to?
I checked out Nothing More, the band. I checked out their self-titled album, and I think I could like it. Just at this specific moment in time, it is just too much for me. Like, it's too energetic, and I know that's weird because I do listen to, like, I've also been listening to Michael Jump Shot Touchdown Pass, previously known as the Sad Joys, previously known as Michael Jordan Touchdown Pass. He's changed.
I feel like they've come up a couple times on the podcast.
They have, and it's Pat the Bunny's brother, who is the guy that is behind it. He's just changed his name several times recently, but like, some of that music, I guess, could be considered energetic, but it's just something about the specific type of metal that Nothing More is, that it's like, I just listen to it and I'm like, this is overwhelming. It's like I just stepped into a room with 20 people in it that are all talking, and I'm just like, I'm just going to slowly leave this room.
I haven't listened to a lot of Nothing More. I know John and Pierce are big fans. I think Taylor's kind of into it now too. There's one song that I have heard from them and I really, really like. So if you want my personal recommendation, maybe as a vibe check, and I feel like this song might be not a good indication of their overall sound, but the song's called Just Say When from their 2017 album. That song's on my sad boy playlist because it's just like it's kind of an acoustic sad It almost has Blue October foiled album vibes to it.
Oh my
in
god!
some ways. So that's at least where my mind goes when listening to that. It's kind of a similar Sad Boy vibe.
I'll give it another shot because I don't think I was in the right headspace. And if you're throwing Blue October in here, especially foiled, that's my fucking jam right there. That's my fucking jam.
It is a good album. I actually might re-listen to that. I'll join you on this Nothing More endeavor.
Hell yeah.
And next fortnight give you my thoughts, because I've honestly not really listened to Nothing More, and I know their new album just came out, and I think people are enjoying it. Actually, I haven't been paying attention as much to Discord see, but I know it got mentioned at some point.
Yeah. That's why I picked it up, because Pierce was like, Nothing More, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. Why not? I was
Pierce
just in one of those
bad taste in music. Pierce, if you're listening, join us on the podcast and fight about it. But
yeah, come fight 2-on-1. Apparently,
take the bait. Nah, there's nothing wrong with liking what he likes. It's just he's just not good.
So, he's just wrong.
He's just wrong. Anyways, we're probably about time.
Yeah, I'm done.
If you guys would like to listen to our recommendations and let us know who picked the gooder album, my recommendation was Hypophora's Douse album. Joey's pick was a collaboration EP from Tapes, Milo Gore, and Fair called Dead Dogs and Sad Songs, which is a hell of a title, and I'm excited to listen to that. Let us know which one you guys liked better in the comments of whatever platform you're listening to us on, if there are, or send us some messages, slide into our DMs.
Nice.
And we will be determining amongst ourselves, in lieu of comments, who wins next episode when we come back. So stay in our feedback loop.
Bye.